Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Skull Session Recruiting Podcast. I'm Mark Givler. Got Kevin Noon here with me. We are in San Antonio, Texas. It is All-American Bowl week. We are down here for the week for practices. Kevin will be leaving us on Friday, but I'll be here through the game Saturday, so we'll have updates here throughout the week. We've had them up on the website at BuckeyeHuddle.com if you haven't seen any of them yet. Good group of Buckeyes here, a handful of Ohio State players, all on the same on the same East team, so that'll be easy for everyone on Saturday. But it's been an interesting start to the week. We're through 2 days. They had a joint practice today, the East and West teams, which was really the first time of the week we really got to see some serious competition. We got 11 on 11, 7 on 7, 1-on-1s today. First day and a half was a lot of install, just getting the offense and defense put in and getting everyone on the same page. A lot to get to. Kevin, maybe your biggest takeaway so far?
I think my biggest takeaway is what we knew going in, and that is Jeremiah Smith is a freak. You have many of the nation's top class of 24 players there, and Jeremiah Smith is just still somehow different than them. And that's not taking anything away from other receivers or the DBs they're going against or Ohio State's other kids or other 5-stars out there. Jeremiah is just built different. Jeremiah just seems to operate on this, on this bandwidth that is all his own. And I'm just happy to be here to see it.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Jeremiah at camps. We went out and watched him at spring practice. I've flown down to Florida. I watched him against American Heritage. And just each stage, it just feels too small for him. It feels like he's just a little bit better than everybody else, or a lot of bit better sometimes than everybody else. And this is no different. Just unbelievable performance so far through 2 days. Other kids kind of rave about him. Ian Moore's been talking about how he gets wrapped up with his stuff with the O-line a little bit early, and then he's able to go watch Jeremiah with the skill players and just talking about him. So it's been just another just star on the chart, I guess, for Jeremiah Smith. Another box to check off for his dominance. I think he's going to have a huge game on Saturday. I think it's going to be one of those. I think we're going to see a lot of, Jeremiah's got to be down there somewhere. Let's just throw it up and see what happens. Will be a part of the East strategy. I talked to, and you did a little bit as well. I talked to a former NFL player this afternoon who's down here, comes down here every year. He runs a camp circuit, so he sees all these kids from really like 6th, 7th grade on, plus, again, playing in the NFL, had kids playing Division I football, has a son who's a scout in the NFL. And even he told me at 17, 18 years old, he has not seen a Jeremiah Smith, and which is insane because, again, he's played a long time in the NFL. But he said he's never seen a Jeremiah Smith at this age from a physical. And the thing he added was it's not just the physical, it's how hard of a worker and how seriously he takes this.
Yeah, and the funny thing about this event, too, is for some odd reason, a couple of the jersey numbers are like monochrome compared to what the jersey color is. So it's like, where's 4? Where's 4? And then you look for the guy making all the plays, and that's Jeremiah Smith. And there are some other very talented East receivers as well, don't get me wrong. But, Jeremiah out there, I had a chance to talk to James Peoples, the running back out of San Antonio, about Jeremiah. It's like, do you guys give him a hard time? Do you call him 6-star? Do you think it's like, well, funny you should say that. No, but we all been giving him a hard time calling him a 5-star. So we've heard that before. And you're talking about a bunch of 4 and 5 stars who are teasing somebody and calling them 5-star. So, I think Jeremiah is going to come in with all of the billing, all the trappings, and, he'll get in for a little bit of a rude awakening. I mean, he's not going to be going into the same room as Marvin Harrison Jr. Okay, as of the time that we're recording this, Marvin hasn't announced that he's leaving Ohio State, but spoiler alert, he is. But he is going to be that guy, I think, that's going to be out there on the Monarch machine at all different hours and really pushing guys. And if he's not, it's going to be the Emeka Ebukas and guys like that who have already been in the program for several years who are going to be the guys there. But I don't think Jeremiah is going to need any sort of motivation, especially with two of his buddies already on the roster in Brandon Ennis and Carnell Tate.
Yeah, and I've said this before, as kind of a broken record at this point, and this is the type of thing I don't say about really anybody else that I can remember. He's going to start in September. I'm 98% convinced he's going to start in September.
Barring some sort of act of God, that's not. I mean, yeah, I don't disagree.
I don't know how they're going to keep him off the field. I just don't. And like, I knew Carnell Tate would play this year. We knew Garrett Wilson would play a few years ago, and Garrett had a great freshman year. But there's just no way he's not going to be one of their best three from day one. And again, could February be a little interesting for him in March and just kind of, I'm sure there's some veteran defensive backs who are going to love to welcome him to Ohio State. I'm sure Davison Ignoson is going to love to welcome him to Ohio State in practice.
Potentially a Denzel Burr, potentially a Jordan Hancock, exactly.
But so there's going to be some competition there that he's going to have to deal with, and maybe a little target on his chest with the defense. But he's too gifted and hardworking, I think, that he's not in the lineup. And it's just not something I say. It's just not something I ever say.
Yeah, I agree. And when you lose, 14 stars between Julian Fleming and Noah Rogers and Bryson Rogers right there. I mean, you lose 3 receivers right off the top. It's there for the taking. I mean, he's going to have to he's going to compete in a talented room, but if he goes there and he's 70% of what I think he is, he's going to start.
And I kind of asked him about that. We have a story on him on BuckeyeHuddle.com, some video, and I did ask him, the receiver room is still very talented, but it's thinned out a little bit the last few weeks. Does that add anything to it? And he basically said no. I don't care, so I'm paraphrasing here, but, if they could have 25 5-star receivers in front of me, I'm still coming in to compete and to
eat.
To make a name for myself and to help the team. So, so he was already kind of locked in on that, and it's been made a little, maybe the path's been a little more clear now with some of the transfers. But so, yeah, Jeremiah Smith's still good. Big takeaway there. My big takeaway, other than Jeremiah Smith's still good, is I think James Peoples is going to play next year. And part of that, of course, they've had the running back room thin out a little bit. I've been incredibly impressed with James Peoples. This is not generally an event that's particularly good to running backs. And it's only kind of gotten worse over the years. Practices have been less physical over the years. The games have been more pass heavy than they were 8, 6, 7, 8 years ago. But first of all, he's physically ready. He is a strong, powerful kid. Been super impressed with his burst. Hits top gear just like that. I mean, just hits the hole and goes. Love the pad level, center. He's got that low center of gravity. I don't think he's quite 5'11". He's probably about 5'10". He's about 200 pounds. Runs with this great low center of gravity. I've been impressed with his hands. He's made some nice catches in one-on-ones. He's done some nice things out of the backfield so far. For me, it's just as simple as how quickly can he pick up the protection aspects of things and pass block aspect of things, because as a pure runner, receiver, he's incredibly talented. I think it's a position you can play early. I think he can play early.
Can you play it early at Ohio State? I mean, and that goes back to the Dallin Hayden joke of, where has he been? But, all joking aside, real strong lower body. Have a couple pictures that I've taken for stories. I had the opportunity to talk to him after Tuesday practice from the East. Very impressive kid. He's the kind of kid that if his career matriculates in the right direction, he is going to end up being a captain. I really do not doubt that one bit. But yeah, I mean, running back is probably one of the easier positions if you can pick up the pass protection, because it's see the light, run to it type of situation there. But he is a more physical back in terms of what I was expecting out of Evan Pryor, because Evan Pryor was supposed to be this huge pass catcher, but Evan Pryor was never as broad as James Peoples. So I think he is what I think everybody thought that maybe Pryor could be. And he gets to that top speed quickly. I mean, he doesn't ham and egg it out there. I mean, it's go, 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 go. He's certain to want to show people, I'm not here just because I was just car fare away. I'm here because I earned it and I deserve it, and he absolutely does.
Yeah, he's been kind of my bright spot this week. I knew he was good, but I'd seen him at camps and things, but he's really, really been impressive this week, to the point that, I think he's in the mix next year. I think as long as they're still playing 2 or 3 backs next year, I think he's going to be one of them. So that's, I think, a spot you can get in on early. We have seen it, Trevion Henderson, J.K. Dobbins. We have seen them be able to introduce guys. So we'll see what Trevion Henderson does. As far as the NFL, obviously that would make things even easier for Peoples. But if he's back, as I think we're expecting him to possibly, potentially, probably be at this point, that maybe puts one layer between Peoples and the playing field. But I just think he's going to be able to get out there.
Right. I mean, and I think that, and this isn't to talk necessarily about kids that aren't there, but with Sam Williams-Dixon being the other back, and he is not that far removed from playing at West Holmes. He lost half of his season due to OHSAA transfer regulations or whatever. Peoples is further along. I mean, they're different backs to begin with, but Peoples is more developed right now in terms of what it needs to be. So, of course, we can sit there and I'm sure we'll write the story leading up to the season and the running back battle between Peoples and Williams-Dixon. But, for my money right now, I mean, just for a multitude of reasons, I think Peoples is further along.
Yep. Other guys to talk about here. Edric Houston, huge, kind of the Jeremiah Smith of the defense in this class in terms of fanfare and ranking and hype and everything else. We got to see a little more line play today. Kind of the joint scrimmage allowed for some physicality up front today that maybe we didn't see yesterday. I thought Edric had a really nice day. Did pretty well in his one-on-one reps. Made a few nice stops around the line of scrimmage. Just a tremendous blend of like athleticism and just raw power.
And that's the thing with these types of events, and I'm sure many of you have watched our camp coverage through the years and how these camps work out. It's, camp speed is very different than game speed, and you can't go out there in one-on-ones and bull rush, and you can't, there's all these things that you can't necessarily do. So sometimes it can be a little difficult to completely flash when you are a bull in a china shop. That is part of what you are. But, I've seen a lot of nice moves out of him. I've seen him just, relentless pressure to the quarterback without the bull rush. I mean, just a lot of things. And I'm very curious to see what will translate to the camera of what I was shooting here on Wednesday for what I can share to you. Came out of Tuesday going, well, that was just not a really good day for anybody that I saw there. But today, being down low and being a little closer to the action, I certainly see what I'd seen putting in his huddle film, what I saw going to the Buford spring game and things of that nature. Yeah,
much more. The afternoon today was a much more physical session. They did some 11-on-11. They did some essentially it's the 7-on-7 for the run game. Essentially, they lined up an offensive line with a quarterback and a running back, and they lined up a defensive line with basically a front seven, and they just ran the football. And so we got to see a lot more of Edric, I think, in his natural environment today, right, which also allowed us to see some of James Peoples today. He broke a big run, actually, right up the middle for a touchdown in that session as well. So we got to see a lot of cool things today that we didn't get to see yesterday. Edric's another one who, I talked to Ian Moore about today because Ian's, seen him in practice a little bit. Ian's on the East offensive line. He's playing right guard this year. Ohio State's telling him offensive tackle. So it's just a matter of these all-star games. You're trying to get 5. You're trying to find combinations.
Right.
So But anyway, I was asking him about Edric, and he's like, "Man, I'm just glad he said, "I'm glad I'm playing inside this week. I'm glad he's playing on the edge because it's not fair what he's able to do."
He's a handful.
And so Ian Moore's been pretty complimentary of him as well. But speaking of Ian, again, I thought he had a nice day today. He had a couple wins in one-on-ones. Got to move the ball a little bit. I believe he was one who helped spring James Peoples on the touchdown run during that phase of the session. So he's, again, playing right guard this week. Probably more of a right tackle at Ohio State, but is one of those guys with enough versatility to help you get your best five out there. Was a really fun interview as always, and kind of a key component to their class, really, especially as things played out down the stretch where they weren't able to get that extra tackle.
And when you're going when you're on the East team and you're an offensive lineman, it means you're going against all these war daddies from Georgia and Florida and the Deep South. So there's no real respite there. You are going against some dudes. So for Ian, coming out of high school, out of the state of Indiana, Indiana becoming a little bit more of a football state, but it's a basketball state. I mean, let's be real here. To be able to compete against the guys and, you get to avoid Edric Houston, but you're still going to be going against some pretty sick defensive tackles. So, I mean, I'm impressed. I mean, we know that offensive line, certainly tackle is a huge question right now for Ohio State. You have the Armstrong twins as well, and then you've got Van Sickle out of the state of Michigan, who's kind of a combo guard tackle. I've liked what I've seen out of Moore. I've had to kind of remind myself, imagine him playing a little bit more space. Because he has been at that guard position, and I'll be curious what the post game evaluations are that come out about him, because he's been impressive.
Yeah, he's had a good week so far. He even mentioned it. Just the guys he's going against. He says, "Look, in high school, I'll see big and strong, or I'll see small and fast. I don't see big, strong, and fast in the same. I'll see the 250-pound guys, but they're not very athletic necessarily. Or I'll see a 220-pound guy who can run around me, but once I get my hands on him, he's done. It's not the case this week. He's kind of talked about how it's a great stepping stone for him as he arrives at Ohio State next week. Wants to get on special teams. That was good. I'm sure that's like music. I'm sure that's music to like Ryan Day's ears. Is like hearing the big lineman coming in like, I want to get on special teams first and get my way to the two deep, and so that's where he's at right now. I said, wants to be on PAT. He said, really wants to be on PAT. I said, okay. Well.
I think that is a good first goal, but he probably needs to check off a lot more goals too this year, because Ohio State probably needs to do a lot of evaluation of its line.
Yes, and so it is interesting. That right guard spot, even though he's projected as a tackle at Ohio State, that right guard spot will be open this year for Ohio State. So wonder what that could bring. Garrett Stover, again, the two, I think, worst positions to evaluate in these things are running backs and linebackers, because you're not really tackling to the ground a lot in practice. It's just a lot of running around in T-shirt and shorts. Like, okay, but, as a running back, you've got to make people miss. You've got to break tackles. You've got to show power. As a linebacker, you've got to show power. Garrett did that today. Again, we didn't get to see much of him yesterday in that type of setting. He's done a solid job in like his one-on-ones. And we know he can cover because he played safety first couple years, Big Walnut. Today made a great stuff in the backfield. Just shot a gap and stuck a guy about 3 yards deep and brings a ton of energy on the field. It's funny because he's not a energetic interview, but he is very, very energetic on the field. It's like a switch gets flipped for him. But I've liked what I've seen out of him too, and he's one that I think we probably saw the most of what we're going to see out of him this afternoon when they did have a bit more physical practice, because they'll probably dial it back again tomorrow, and then we won't really – he'll be a game day thing. Like, you'll judge him on game day, because that's when he'll really get to kind of show the full arsenal. But I thought he had a good day as well today.
Well, and the thing I noticed was he asked a lot of questions along the way. He was constantly talking to the coaches, and that's a big thing because – a lot of the other linebackers here have been playing linebacker for many years. I mean, not a lot. You switch positions throughout, your youth career. That's just how it works. You're a running back one year, and then suddenly you hit a growth spurt and you're an offensive lineman. But, for Garrett, I mean, he started his high school career in the secondary. I mean, that's just kind of what it was. So there are probably a lot of little nuances that he is still picking up as he learns the position. So I was very encouraged seeing him constantly working with the coaches and, all right, I do this, and things of that nature, because it's very easy for guys to come into this like, I'm going to my school in a week. I'm here for the gear. I'm here for the trip. I'm here for whatever.
Want to be on NBC?
Right. The football's all well and good, but guess what? If I do well, I'm going to be in about 40 games during my career, in my 3-year career, and then off to the next level. But I think Garrett is maximizing everything he can, and that's not saying, oh, he needs to be completely torn down and built back up. No, but he's still adding arrows to the quiver.
Yeah, I like that's another guy. You said James Peoples will be a future captain. I think Garrett Stover is probably going to be a future captain at Ohio State as well. So those are two guys in this class I'd look at and think of in terms of leadership. Garrett's been leading a lot of the drills. Again, asking questions, talking a lot. So he's a guy who I think is kind of a sponge out there with everything he's been doing. Just been a great transition for him from safety to linebacker the last couple of years. Aaron Nolan, late scratch. Peyton Pierce, kind of a late scratch. He's dinged up. Nothing that would wreck a freshman year or anything like that, but just guys who you may have seen on a list at some point are not down here taking part. But there is someone down here who's not taking part who there will be some interest on this weekend, and that is, yes, that is 5-star cornerback Devin Sanchez, who will be down here. Believe they get in Thursday afternoon. So not down here yet, or at least the parents are. I don't think Devin's down here yet either. But they'll be down here. They'll be part of the awards banquet, and then he'll be announcing on Saturday.
National television.
On national television, on NBC. So how do we feel about that one? I feel good. How do you feel?
I feel pretty good too. For all the doomsaying that it's a broken program and woe is me and everything else, I think the Ohio State brand is still pretty strong, and I think Ohio State's done a very good job in its recruitment of Devin Sanchez. It would be very easy if he were unsure of a decision or whatever. I just don't think I'm right. It's not that far of a trip from Houston to San Antonio, but it's, Piers is moving forward with it, and I think that when the bright lights are on, he's going to be putting on that Block O cap.
Yeah, it's been an interesting, probably 6 to 8 weeks, whatever it's been since he announced his decision date, because Texas A&M has just totally wiped out their coaching staff, totally new coaching staff. And then Ohio State, of course, had their showings against Michigan and Missouri, and Alabama had their showing against Missouri, or against Michigan. And so there's probably been a lot to process as coaches are moving around, teams are finishing out their seasons, but there's been no, I've kind of kept up with them throughout the last couple of months. There's been no indication to me that there's any cold feet happening. It sounds like he's going to he's all in on his whatever decision he's going to make on Saturday, that he's fully comfortable with it. And again, I think there's a really good chance there's going to be good news for Ohio State on Saturday, but we'll have to wait and see. I'll have to watch on NBC and find out.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to be a flip miss, like as in Christmas, type of kid who's going to bounce around a lot now. If he picks Ohio State or he picks somebody else and that program goes through a complete ringer, then you never know at this point. But we certainly saw Ohio State lose out on a couple of flips at the end of the early 24 cycle, and obviously fans were disappointed about that. We're talking about a 25 now that they're going to have to play defense on if they land them for almost 12 months. But he's not somebody who I think is going to be out there trying to gin up interest in himself in terms of visits or things of that nature. I think that when he commits somewhere, it's going to be pretty solid. But you're still going to have to hold on to him. It's not like set it and forget it. He's committed. We're done. We don't have to put any time into that.
Yeah, I don't think if the pick's Ohio State, I don't think Alabama is just going to let that go. I certainly don't think Texas A&M, being not too far away, is going to let that go either. So you'll have to continue to recruit him no matter what happens, and if he goes somewhere else, Ohio State will keep their.
They're not going to give up either. Yeah.
So it's going to be one of those. That's just kind of the reality. You want to recruit a 5-star from Texas. That's how this works. So, but he is more of a low key Jeremiah Smith, serious about his craft, type of kid, where it's not like he's going to be on Twitter just,
But people will be like, but Jeremiah Smith was serious about taking lots of visits.
He was, but he he did that. He kind of made that known. And he wasn't like obnoxious about it on social media. You know what I mean? Like,
no, just the recruiting sites were putting his picture up every 4 seconds.
That was a lot of that was Jeremiah following through on what he said he was going to do, and then the media doing kind of what we do, which is reporting on it. We have to, but if I think if Jeremiah could have done that without any fanfare, he would have. I really do. I think there's kids who don't think that way. I think there's kids who like the attention, the Twitter stuff, the interviews. I think if Jeremiah could have done this with no interviews at all, I think he would have.
So he wasn't Marvin Wilson.
Right. Yes. Now, he's not rude enough to tell people to, go shove it when they come out to his high school to talk to him or something, but I don't think he necessarily was out there like, please interview me about this visit.
Well, thankfully, we were at his high school enough times.
Yes, so we'll see. Like I said, I think regardless, it's a 5-star kid committing 11 months early, so it's going to be something that you've got to stay on top of. But you'd rather have the commitment, right?
It's better to play offense in this case than defense, and this also is not a South Florida running back.
Yeah, exactly. Which that might be another discussion for another podcast here coming up is running back recruiting and specifically South Florida as the Buckeyes go for Byron Lewis. But Byron Lewis not here this week, to my knowledge, for anything early. We'll let you know if that changes. But yeah, there's I don't think there's any other South Florida Express guys here this year.
I don't think
Last year, like Jeremiah came out. They've kind of always had, but I don't think they've got anyone coming out early this year. So. We'll keep it locked in here the rest of the week. We got a couple days more practice. Game Saturday. We'll have some more updates on the website. We'll do at least one more of these, talking about what we're seeing out there this week. But thanks everyone for watching and listening, and we will talk to you soon.